Good afternoon and welcome to the 10th webinar in the Louisiana AAP Pediatric Gumbeaux webinar series. We'll get started in about a minute. As you come in, please share where you're based in the chat so that we can start getting to know you. Okay, we will start with some housekeeping. In order to be more accessible, we have enabled closed captioning. You can look at the Zoom toolbar to turn on closed captioning in your view. You may need to click the three dots that say more to see the closed captioning option. Dr. Feiten and Ms. Schaad, the speakers for this activity, have no financial relationships, and all relevant financial relationships have been mitigated. Without further ado, I will introduce our presenters. Dan Feiten, MD, FAAP, is the Chief Medical Officer of Office Practicum, a pediatric-specific electronic health record. In 1992, he co-founded Greenwood Pediatrics, which grew to become a 26-provider office with 3 locations in Denver, Colorado. As a founder of Remedy Connect, he speaks nationally to physicians and medical organizations about digital media strategies around digital marketing, patient education, and pediatric telehealth. A 1983 graduate of CU School of Medicine, he completed his residency and chief residency with UCHSC's Department of Pediatrics. In 2022, Dr. Feiten received the highest honor for a pediatrician in Colorado, the James E. Strain Award for community service. This award recognizes an academic or private pediatrician who has provided exceptional service and innovation locally and nationally. Approximately 30 of Colorado's nearly 4,000 pediatricians have received this honor. Rebecca Schaad has been working with pediatricians across the country for the past 17 years. She is passionate about helping pediatricians increase their online visibility and find solutions to better reach their communities 24/7. While not working, Rebecca can be found hiking the Colorado trails with her husband and 3 kids, or snuggling with her golden doodle reading a great book. I will now pass control over to begin the presentation.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. If you are just jumping in, we would love it if you put in the chat window where you're coming in from, your practice, and your name, your city, anything you want to share, and that would be fantastic as we walk through this today. So we have that we're going to talk about today, website content for effective web presence. The objectives we're going to walk through, we're going to learn to identify the most important social media tool for your practice. We're going to use incognito mode to do website research, very important. We will create a content strategy for your website and look at social media. We'll learn how to use metadata to drive your content strategy. And then lastly, we're going to use content to promote your practice, hopefully greatly reduce phone calls and establish your expertise. The first thing we want to look at today is Google Business Profile, which is part of Google Maps. It is vital to any business. Google is so important. We'll talk about Google just a lot today. There are tons of search engines. There's Yahoo, Bing, Safari, etc. By far, Google owns the market. Just to give you a quick snippet, last year they did over 90% of the searches when someone was searching pediatrician near me or Mexican food, something else. 90% on a laptop, desktop were done on Google. On a cell phone, which is really important to pediatric practices since about 70% of your end users will reach you on a mobile phone. Out of those users, over 95%, it's almost 96%, used Google. So we're going to talk about that first. It's known as the source of truth, the Google Business Profile. If you've already set it up and established it, fantastic. You do want to check. Just look in Google. You can do a search. It's great to start in incognito mode. We'll show you in a moment how to do that. But you do want to look for every location in your practice. So if you are multi-location, each one does need a Google Business Profile set up. We'll have links. In fact, at the end of this presentation, we have a bunch of links on how to do this. There's great videos, step-by-step tools, not just how to initially set it up, but how to keep it active. This is something that you're going to want to pour into on a regular basis. And so it's important just to have a handle on it. And it's not hard. It is really easy to use. Just a note too, this is free. So companies will reach out and they'll say, hey, we'll do this for you for $200, $400. You do not have to pay a penny. That you set up your own Google Business Profile and you manage it. So that is really good to know how easy it is. When you're setting it up, or if you set it up years ago and you haven't reviewed it, so when you go into review, you want to make sure that everything in there is accurate. So hours, your website. In fact, in your website, if it's not HTTPS, if it's not a secure link, you can go in and change that. We can show you how, but you'll build that profile and continue to build it by adding additional information through the years. If you're doing it for the very first time, Google is awesome. It's going to take you step by step how to build it. And then at the very end, it will ask for verification. 3 ways to verify your account. It will either be with a phone call.
Hey, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Your slide did not advance.
Oh, thank you for telling me that. I didn't see. Thank you. I appreciate that. I advanced it on a different screen. Thank you. So sorry, this will help if you actually see what I'm talking about. So here with the verification, they don't always give you a choice. If they do, video verification is really simple, and there's great YouTube videos that show you how to do a quick video verification, and it's really quick. It's actually the most common way they're verifying now. But here you'll be able to see once it is established, we have a picture over on the right of what it's going to look like when other people pull this up, so you can see what that is like. So how parents or patients, both as a PEDS office, are going to find you is really searching on Google first. So when someone puts in pediatrician near me into a search bar, Google looks at a lot of different factors. In fact, there's about 200 items in their algorithm that they look at to decide if your practice is a good answer for that question. We know from, they won't share all their algorithm with anyone, but we know in the top 10 what a couple of those items are that we concentrate on. One is your Google star rating. What is that rating? How many reviews you have, and how consistently do you get reviews every couple of weeks is what they're looking for. That is going to weigh heavily on how you're ranked. Also, your relevance. Are you also updating content on your website? They want to see that happening on a regular basis as well. And then we'll go over other items, but how you set up your Google Business Profile is vital. So things that people will see that are displayed. One of the #1 things that pop up is that star rating. So you'll see how many stars. If anyone clicks on those stars, you'll see the reviews and be able to see the responses. If you do not own your Google Business Profile, then you cannot respond. So that is another reason this is very vital. You do want to respond both to positive and negative, and we'll talk a little later. Also here, for every location, you'll have your website, phone number, hours, directions, all of the key components. It's like the yellow pages online real quick for everyone to find quick access. Some people don't know, but you can add an appointment link or your telehealth link along with your website. And then really important is adding pictures on a regular basis. Not stock photos, but real pictures of your office. If you do use any families, you need to have them sign a release that it's okay to put that on there. But families or anyone who leaves you a review can also leave photos there, which is great. And then a very key component is within your profile, it's answers and questions section. I've had this asked many times. Do we have to wait for someone to ask us a question? No. So I suggest that you use your front office. They are the front line for all the questions that come in. And so just kind of pull your front desk that's getting those phones. What are the 3 to 5 most asked questions that you get? And then type in those questions yourself and answer them. Then you're really covering those FAQs, and Google likes that you're updating what's listed there. During your description and other places, you can also add your specialized services. So it is free, but one of your absolute most powerful tools is to set up your Google business profile. We have another one, Apple Business Connect. Again, we're going to have links at the end so you can see how to set this up. It is very easy to utilize. Just like Google is the truth for Google Maps and for Chrome, and is the largest search engine, Apple is still very important. Now, to tell you the truth with it, Apple is a very small portion of your audience, but the white space is huge because not a lot of people are using it. Not a lot of businesses are signed up on it yet. But this is what is going to help you with Apple Maps and within Yelp. And so we do want to sign up. It's going to be a very similar process to what we have going on for Google. Again, it is free, very easy to use on the back end. Only 16% of businesses are even on Apple Business Connect. That means if your pediatric practice is listed and the others in your city are not, you're the only one that's going to show up. So it's a small percentage that use Apple Maps, but it costs you nothing to get on there and you're getting greater visibility. To sign up here, you will just have to have an Apple ID. And then just like Google, you're going to go through adding location in your details, and you will have to verify your account. Apple has done a fantastic job of setting up a guide, very easy step-by-step on how to do this process, and it will help you greatly. So let's look at searching incognito. There's multiple reasons this is important, but one reason, especially when you're on a browser, Chrome is the best browser with Google because they're very good at giving a personalized answer and to really learning what you search for and to giving the best results for who has earned that right or that spot to be suggested. But with any browser that you're on, you want to move into incognito so that when you search, they're not looking at your history. So for example, if you have a favorite restaurant you always go to, it may automatically start pulling up that URL instead of giving you true results for your area. So we suggest, mattering what browser you're on, that you will change into either private mode or incognito. If you're on Chrome or MS Edge, that's going to be found in the far right top of your screen with 3 dots, either going horizontal or vertical, mattering which one you're on. Chrome is vertical and Edge is horizontal. And then in Safari or Firefox, you're going to choose at the bottom of your tab to go into private browsing mode. So either way works. And then when you do that, what we really want you to do is to research your practice. So you might put in pediatrician near me and then a zip code that is outside your zip code that you actually live in to search and see if your practice pulls up. One reason this is important, I was talking with a practice and they were saying, hey, we always show up as first or second in any search I do. And their marketing company was very proud that they always had them right in that local pack at the very top. And so when we were speaking and sharing a screen, I had them go incognito and pull up their practice again, just pediatrician near me. And they didn't show up on the first page. They didn't show up until the end of the second page. They were not really having successful marketing. The only reason they were pulling up before is because Google knew that they had pulled up their website before. And so for them, for that specific person, the website was a good answer, even though anyone else searching would have never found it. So I just encourage you to really test this out and see where you really land when you're looking at your marketing. This is a good example of what it should look like. So if you are successful with your marketing efforts, this is a practice that has 3 different locations. So in the very top, we can see all 3 locations with the red check mark there. They are all listed because they each have a Google business profile per location. Right underneath the map, we can see it was successful because individual information is listed again per location that will also link out for their website and directions. We want to make it very easy. I don't believe in Easter egg hunts on websites or when people are searching. We want it very clear what the next step is if they want more information. And then if your practice has been good with marketing, you have a YouTube channel, you place videos on your website, on your social media, videos will also show up. And that is just another way to market your practice, especially if each provider has a short 30-second, 1-minute video, they will show up here. So that is just what a good profile will look like when it's done correctly.
So we want to think about the importance of each type of content for our website and also our social media. And that requires a strategy. And many times people don't understand the importance of creating a focused approach so that you can be found either your website or through your social media. Next slide. So we do content strategy because the parents want it. Rebecca, I don't think the slide moved there, please. There we go. So our content is first of all meant for our families. It's meant for them late at night when that child is in your arms with a fever or getting sick and they have questions and concerns and they need a resource to help them. They need a resource that they can trust. And so getting it from your website is something that reassures them, they trust you already, etc. Next slide. It's also for us. All of us have been in that situation late at night, tired. We've been answering questions all day long, and we'd like to have a little bit of break from that. Certainly, I have heard from many practices over time how the right setup of their website and their social media allows them to reduce their number of calls. And we'll show you some data and a study that we did with Bart Schmidt in just a little bit. Next slide. So content answers the questions that your parents might have. It also establishes what's called your EEAT, and I'll show another slide on that in just a minute, what that is. It improves your ranking on the SERP, or the search engine results page. You have a greater likelihood of getting on the first page if your content is relevant to the question that the person is searching for. It will often reduce your phone calls. It improves your findability. Findability is your ability to be found through various types of digital media on the internet, because you establish a name and a reputation and trustworthiness. It also allows you to promote your reviews, and it will give people a location to go to review you. And I think the thing I like to say is that, we do better with marketing if we create fans. And what does it take to create a fan? You're there thinking ahead of time and answering their questions. You're making sure that you're available for those late night concerns. And that doesn't mean they have to give you a call every single time. Next slide. So EEAT. Google, one part of their algorithm, particularly in healthcare, is to identify entities or doctors or people who have experience, expertise, authority, and are trustworthy. These are actually items that they use in their algorithm to determine whether or not you're somebody that they should trust. Anybody can put up a website. Anybody can say that they are someone, but Google actually takes the information that they have from your Google business profile and your website and looks at all kinds of others, what we call directories across the United States, to make sure that all of the information is accurate. So if your Google business profile, if that information matches the information of the other sites, etc., they feel like they can trust it more. I like to give the story where the two most frequent searches on a pediatrician's website are your phone number and your address. Followed by that are the clinician's medical information. Those two are about the same. And then about us, information about after hours, and then your portal. I was saying that I like to tell the story of a practice who was in a small suburb, a bedroom community, if you want. They had their second office in this bedroom community, along with 3 other pediatric practices. And they did not show up on those maps that Rebecca showed you in the beginning. Those Google Maps, also called Google Places, they didn't have an icon that identified them. And in fact, they didn't show up in any of the rankings either when people searched in that area for a pediatrician. So I went back and started it from the very beginning. The most important thing is your Google business profile, and look there, and their phone number was 555 5555. And, of course, Google knows that that just is a filler. And so they did not trust the Google business profile. And so this practice was actually, I don't want to say banned, but they couldn't even be found because their marketing group told them that they would do all these other wonderful things for them, but didn't pay attention to the basics, which is get your Google business profile done, keep it accurate, make sure you have the right phone number. Now, if some of you have already set yourself up on a separate tab for incognito, or if you can do that now in Chrome, I would encourage you to make an incognito tab or a new window, I should say, and start to look for some of the items that are important to practices or to families. You'll want to say phone number of XYZ practice, the name of your practice, all right? And it should show up with a map because your phone number and your location are going to go together. And Google knows that if you have that information correct, then it will show up with a map, and then it will show up with the phone number and address after that. If it is not doing that when you just searched, your website probably needs some loving care. So, as I said, clinicians, medical information about us, after hours, and then portal. Now, why do you think portal would be fit? And the reason is that most portals are just a link out from your website onto the portal page. And so parents save that and they just simply go to that rather than going to your website. If you're attentive over the next 6 months, you might look at the hospitals in your area and see how they handle their portal. They have enough oomph, enough leverage, if you will, to put the portal embedded into their website so that people are not going out away, because every single time someone wants to come to the portal, you want them coming to your website. And you will see that changing over time, where portals will be embedded in most pediatricians' websites. Not yet, but the hospitals are doing it. Next slide, please. Here's a list of some of the most common medical content that is found on pediatricians' websites. Is your child sick? Also called the symptom checker by Dr. Bart Schmidt. You can get that through a couple of different companies, etc. Parent care advice, which are the handouts after the visit. Are you sick is the adult content. And then the American Academy of Pediatrics, of course, has their medical library. Medicine dosages is a very, what should I say? It is a well-liked addition to your website when people have it. There are immunization schedules with the VISs and the AAP articles. And then finally, what's going around? What's going around is a specific page that lets people know what you're seeing in your area at that particular time. Next slide. Here's just an example of the medical content that Bart Schmidt has, and it is divided up into a variety of different sections. Next slide. And then people often ask me, well, why shouldn't I just have links out to healthychildren.org? Since we are talking with folks from the AAP, I think that you may understand that linking out to another entity, whether it's Healthy Children or it is Dr. Whatever, that takes away your Google juice. You are creating links to an outside source saying, these are important sources. That's okay to have some of those, but what happens is that if you look at the way that the URLs are built, Google is looking for things that are in the first section of the URL and generally in the second or the third. So you see in these URLs, the / after healthychildren.org, there's a / and then English / tips, tools / and you get all the way down to where strep throat is number 7 in the URL. From Google's perspective, that's not as important. Here you see a practice, woodhavenpediatrics.com, that knows that strep throat is often searched for, and so strep throat infection is number 2, and they are more likely to be found, not just by the people in their practice, but by folks in their city. Next. All right. We also said that content can help you improve your ranking on the search engine's result page. Next. So this is an example, and I'm sorry that this is hard to read, but this refers to what I just told you about. If you have set up your website correctly when people are searching for information about strep throat. You want your website, your practice, to come up in front of other entities. And you can see here are 4 practices that were built by the same website company, and they were all set up to be able to be there when people all over the city are trying to learn about strep throat. So here it's asking, is strep throat going around, but it can be some other questions. Is strep throat contagious, etc. And the top 4 listings are pediatric practices rather than Channel 5 News or Channel 9 News or whatever your local media may be. Next. All right. This is sometimes a little bit confusing, but important for people to understand. This is the other reason why you want content on your website rather than going out. The example given in marketing is the long tail theory, and they often use Amazon as an example. The long tail theory shows mathematically that generally there is a level of popularity on various items in Amazon that make up that dark red section on the left. It is the brands that people already know and trust. Huggies, Crayola crayons actually are very high on the list. Things that people know and they just need it, and I don't have time to go out and get it. But to the right of that is what they call the long tail. And unfortunately, this slide is way, way too small. We're talking about a long tail that goes out for many, many, a mile, if you will. And you can understand that the area under that curve, while it may not look as high, the total area under the curve is very significant. So when somebody like Google or Microsoft Edge is looking for your practice, it is not only looking for the specific information about the clinicians and about your phone number and your address and so forth, but if you have content, you have 2,000 articles that Google can associate itself with, and they can identify this as being your expertise and your trustworthiness per se. And so you get extra notches because you have so much content on your site. Next.
All right. We are going to look at now how to reduce phone calls within your practice, which is a really important strategy of any pediatric practice. Most that I talk to, and I'm on with practices every day, it's hard to sometimes keep staff or hire the right staff for different positions. And then as well, phone lines can really be overwhelmed. And you want the right calls coming in at the right time so that if someone's calling for an appointment, they're not just put on hold for 20 minutes, 25 minutes waiting to make that appointment. We want to be able to fill schedules quickly, but also we want to direct people to the right place at the right time. So whether that is when your office is open or closed. I know it goes without saying, you're on 24/7 as a pediatric practice. Your website is representing you. That's your arm, your marketing arm that is always out there. But when people are calling, whether you have that go to an answering service, a triage service, or someone in your office that's taking call at lunch, after hours, you are represented. So a goal that we have in working with practices is within your content, how can we truly reduce the number of calls coming in and that parents can self-serve? A lot of the questions coming in are just found on your website, or should be, those answers. So we did do a survey. Over 3,000 parents were surveyed, and we looked at the medical content we had placed on some sites. Was it effective? And how was it working? And what did those numbers actually mean for the staff within the office? So out of those numbers, they said 44% of the parents, they were going to call the office, but after reading the medical content, they realized they didn't have to. The answer was there for them. It relieved whatever their questions were, and they were able to go on. 74% of the parents said the told them the next step to take, what to do. If you've ever used Dr. Bart Schmidt's information for your own triage on the back end, this is forward-facing content for the parents, so there's no contradictory information. It's really going to complement what your nurses or triage are going to be telling those parents. But it also can stop some of those 3 a.m. calls for things that are unnecessary. I know through the years, speaking to providers that say one of the most frustrating calls can be, how much Tylenol do I give my 10-year-old? And it comes in the middle of the night. Really, that is found or should be found right on your website. Part of that with phone calls is establishing what is that expectation. So when those parents are in for the well visits, continuously redirecting them to your website. Also, when they're calling in, direct them to your website. So when you're doing your after hours message or at lunch or even your daytime message, part of that message could be, for frequently asked questions, please go to pikespeakpediatrics.com. You're just giving the URL for your practice and click on medical content, medicine dosages, wherever you want to direct them. And now that's going to reduce some calls. I also want to suggest, specifically with your phone lines, a lot of practices haven't actually gone through their own phone tree as a parent. So if you haven't done that recently, pretend you're a parent, call your office during the day and after hours. You may have 2 different messages depending the time of day, and work through your own phone tree. Does it just send you in a circle? Does it make sense? And what do you really want them to do? One of the things I have suggested, specifically with phone calls, I know that's the bottom of the list here, but don't use number 1, 0, or 9 to be transferred to the on-call provider. As just who we are as humans, sometimes we start pushing buttons without really taking a moment to hear the message. Make them listen to your message. So maybe have that as an internal message to get to the next step. If you do not accept RX refills or referrals or camp forms and those questions after hours, let them know in your message. You can either send them to an internal voicemail box, or you can ask them to call during normal business hours or request through the portal. Many of them can message through the portal, and so you're redirecting how you want them to act. So other things that can really help, keep pediatric content on your site to reduce calls. That would be adding website alerts. It's really fantastic if you have the ability to make your own content changes. So whatever platform you're on that you've built your website, we believe it is key that you have control and make changes on the fly. So if you're in an area and there's inclement weather, it's hard to send that into support if you have a 2-hour delay and they don't get that alert up for 4 hours. Then it doesn't make sense. So see if you can have control over adding alerts. Also practice news. Keep your patients updated. Are you doing fundraisers? Are you running a flu clinic? Are you doing something special, sports physicals for the summer? So there's lots of ways you can advertise and let your parents know what's going on by updating your site, and then additionally updating social media and then leading them to your website. Other things that will cut down on those phone calls is having detailed information, especially with well visits. Parents may wonder, how often do I need to come in? What vaccinations is my child about to receive? That can all be laid out very clearly on the website so that those questions are answered. It also gives them a lot of peace before they come into that appointment. And then, of course, for after hours, clear instructions on what the next steps are that they are going to take. So lots of things you can do here to make sure that your parents are ready to self-serve on your website and social media instead of just calling you for everything.
Okay. Findability is a term that is used in marketing to describe the capability for your entire digital platform to work together to be found. Next slide, please. One of the ways that you let Google or the other search engines know about your page is to add the keywords. But in fact, websites that are well built have a tool that most people don't realize, and that is that there is standardized code that describes your entity, the services, your location, all of that, so that the search engines immediately, they index your content on your website so that it can be found even more quickly. And that code is called rich results or metadata. And I apologize that this link is not something that you can just click on right now, but I would recommend, and you can do this whether you are in incognito mode or on a regular Google search window or Safari, etc. But you might take a photo of this link or just type it in now. Thank you, Julia, for adding that. Copy it from there, and that will be an opportunity for you to look at specific pages on your site. Not only your home page, but you want to take pages of specific clinicians. If you have a new clinician, you want to be looking at that or any specific services that you might specialize in. And those pages, you will use this link to look and see whether or not it has the metadata that makes it more easily found, gives it better findability with Google. All right. You want to create landing pages. And by landing pages, we mean pages that are not necessarily your home page, but other pages of content that are pages that will be for people that might have a specific interest. So we already know that people look for clinicians. You should have a separate page for every one of your clinicians with their history and their appropriate content. We'll talk about that in a second. Having one page with everybody's picture on it, but no link to a specific page about that clinician decreases their findability significantly. All right, specific pages for medical content that you think are important, things like strep throat and so forth are what we want to do. Here are the things you want to put on that landing page. You want to tag the photo, the name of the clinician, their medical school, residency, other credentials, any awards. And then if they do provide a video, you certainly want to tag it with their name and their location. Next. Top search requests on Google. It's worthwhile for you to be watching and Googling what people are searching for in healthcare, or what do they search about for newborns or parent questions, etc. So you can see here that for the last 2 years, the top search in healthcare on Google across the country, both of them are about strep. For newborns, it wouldn't surprise you that crying, how can I stop my baby crying, hiccups, and spitting up are the most common questions. Well, you should have a blog on each one of those items, or you should have pages specifically on those questions. Next.
All right, so we're going to look at social media now, and what is important, and this could be in a 5-hour discussion on its own. So I'm going to slide through this pretty quickly, but you will have access to the information here afterwards to refer back to. I want to encourage you, if you're not participating in any social media yet, that is where a lot of your parents are at, and it is a powerful tool that you should be utilizing. Like we said in the beginning, setting up your Google Business Profile and Apple Business Connect, those are the most important social media tools to start with, and then we grow from there. So some things that we want to look at, the advantages really in social media is you're targeting your audience. So if you have not yet set up a Facebook page, an Instagram, TikTok, you can see different platforms here towards the bottom. You can set those up. You do not have to be a part of everything. It can feel overwhelming, especially if you're not a part of anything yet. And so start small. You don't have to feel like you have to do it all today, but it does allow you to engage with your patients right where they're at, especially those younger parents. Just a note here, when we're looking at social media platforms, most of you probably know, but Facebook and Instagram, owned by Meta, you can double post. So that is a quick way to post to both platforms at the same time, hitting 2 birds with 1 stone. Also, Facebook has a great thing set up where you can go into admin and you can put your posts 30 days in advance. So you could spend a couple of hours one day, set up your social media calendar for all the posts that are going to go out the following month. And then you don't have to go in there daily or weekly whenever you're setting those up. They do make it really easy to do that platform. Another note is YouTube is owned by Google. They bought it about 10 years ago. They spent, I think, over $1.5 billion on it. It is very important to them. Google likes to promote Google. And so setting up a YouTube channel is a really great way to also promote yourself. Within that YouTube channel, like Dr. Dan said, each provider should have a short video, 30 seconds to a minute. They don't have to be long, but that they're just talking about themselves. You're going to add that to their profile page within their website. You can also highlight it on social media. So lots of ways you can kind of do some circle highlighting within your social media platform. When you're looking at what to post and how often to post, if you're not posting at all, you could have a goal of posting once a week, once a month. Start somewhere. And I'll show you an example of a calendar that has worked well when you just kind of lay out what those posts are going to look like. A max of twice a week is great, but start somewhere. Start engaging with your clients and seeing what they're doing. So we do have some tips of what to do here and what not to do. I'm going to skip over all the way just to the tips in the bottom right and what's important here. What we find when we look at posts is the more personal you are, the more those posts are actually reshared. So if you're giving a kudos to a provider in the office or someone who works there, or for example, this is Autism Awareness Month and you want to highlight a family or a patient with their permission and maybe something awesome they're doing and they have autism, you will get more shares because people really enjoy community. They want to tell others in their community what's going on as well. And that is a really good level of seeing, was it successful engagement? And I'll show you a post for that. Always being authentic and being helpful, being relevant, watching what's going on. When you are looking, I'm going to show you a post here. But when you're really looking at your Google Analytics, you should be on Google Analytics 4 now. That should be attached to the back end of your website so you can follow where are people clicking when they do land on your site. Like we said, strep throat was huge this year. And when they're clicking there, that tells you I probably want to do a post on my social media about that. Always link back to your website. So I have a provider here. She's wonderful, and she did a really cool post that had an amazing result because people shared it so many times. It was, you can see it's really tiny. It was shared over 38 times. And the first day it was posted, I didn't look after. All it was, she's a provider. She's a mom. She was in Target, and it was really hard to find. Tylenol was in short supply, and she just took her phone out, held it in front of her, and did a quick video on, as a mom, this is also hard for me to find the right medicine, but this is what you can do. And it really struck a chord with her parents. And that was the measure of success, is that 38 people that first day shared it with their own audience. So that was getting a really good audience there. And then we have some examples of other ways you can really get out there. You can do podcasts. When you do create these videos, it will boost your post if it is attached to a video. So it always helps to add that. And then you can also do additional items where you're putting even QR codes in your exam rooms that lead them to either your social media or other things that you're doing. This is an example of just a post from Canva. If you're not currently using Canva, it is a fantastic platform to create the post. It is set up to very quickly create posts for Facebook or Instagram. And this is just an example of a hand, foot, and mouth disease post that was very successful, putting your logo on it. So you can look back at that later as well. Just an example of a social media calendar. This is showing 3 times a week. You could show 2 times a week, but different things you can talk about. Because you can post 30 days in advance, just get a few topics that you're going to talk about. Always good to share on medicine dosing and things like that. But again, I pointed out, I had some providers last summer. They were camp counselors. They did the medical. And when they posted videos of camp and pictures, very high response from their community with doing that. Also providers doing fun videos, or if you have internal lactation consultants that want to do a short little snippet and highlight them, lots of great ideas, but it's not hard to put a calendar together, and I encourage you to look at that. We're going to jump into reviews just really fast. I know we are getting close to time, so I'm going to run through this. It's just important to get Google reviews. If you don't have a platform that's already working to get reviews, it's just vital. Again, Google wants to see that you have a minimum of 125 reviews, and they're coming in every couple of weeks. So there are great programs out there. This specific example is showing that once your parents are texted after their visit, if they give you a higher rating, 4 or 5 stars, they land on Google. We don't want hurdles. We just want them to leave a review. If they're upset, 1 to 3 stars, they land on a survey that is sent to your office. What is fantastic about that is it's not posted online, but we all have blind spots. And so it'll let you see what is a better way we can handle workflow in this situation. Looking at how to respond to reviews, I'll show you this really quick. Quickly, you want to respond by staying positive, respond to both negative and positive reviews while staying HIPAA compliant, and just be open to that feedback. I love this quote by Bill Gates. I think it's really powerful. Your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning. It's really how we become better, because we don't know sometimes where we're failing, and so this can really help you. In the slide deck, I'm going to go past these slides, but we do give examples of ways you can uniquely respond to both positive and negative reviews. so that you can feel confident.
Okay. For the most part, the things that we talked about are listed here on this action plan. More important than anything are the 2 lines in bold. Take a look at your website, look at the pages, make sure that on mobile and desktop that they are functioning correctly, and then set up your Google Business Profile and your Apple Business Connect. Before you go into lots of social media and so on and so forth, if you haven't set up those 2 entities yet, you're not getting the true benefit of digital media. We're going to open it up to questions right now. Oh, let me just add the next slide. We have a whole list of resources and links on the next slide if you want to do that. And I think Julia will tell you that she's going to send these out as a PDF later on. So Julia, you're next.
Yes, okay, we will send any question, we will send all of these resources out as a PDF when we get them. And for before that, right after this webinar, we will send you the link to the evaluation so that we can make sure that you can get the credit you deserve for this activity. Let me put that link in the chat right now. If you have any questions, now is the time to ask them. So you are welcome to come off mute to ask any questions you have. If I don't see any people unmuting, I will go ahead with my announcements and then come back to any questions as they come up. So I'll give you a second to think of any questions. Okay. I'm going to go through our announcements real quick, and then if you have any questions, feel free to come off mute and interrupt me. Okay, very important. In order to claim your credit, you are required to do the evaluation. This is the only way I know that you want credit. Please scan this QR code, click the link in the chat, or follow the link in the email that I will send you as soon as we get off to claim your credit. The code is laap.typeform.com/GUMB, short for Gumbeaux 10. This is our 10th webinar in the series. So that is the link for that. Coming up in August, we will have our big conference, and we're happy to share that our speakers from today's webinar will be at the conference to share more tips and tricks for promoting your practice. We will also be joined, excitingly, by the American Academy of Pediatrics President-elect Sue Cressley, who will be presenting Harnessing Your Pediatric Power to Shape the Future. You can learn more at our conference webpage, which is laap.org/2024 potpourri, or by scanning this QR code. And then our next Pediatric Gumbeaux webinar will be with Dr. Robert Voigt. He will be presenting developmental behavioral pediatrics with a focus on neurodevelopmental assessments. This next Gumbeaux will also be part of running into the conference. So we'll have Dr. Voigt speaking in our next Gumbeaux, and then he will do a presentation at the conference, and then another Gumbeaux webinar in the fall. And if you missed any of our webinars, they are available for 1 year from the day of recording for CME credit, and then available continuously for just viewing and not credit. And you can find them on our website or at our YouTube channel. You can scan this QR code to go to our YouTube channel. And then if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, you'll be updated about any new on-demand webinars as they become available. Okay, that was all my announcements. Anyone have any questions? Okay, it looks like everyone has a lot to think about and a lot of things that they can work on to to get started, and we will get all of those slides and links out to you as soon as possible. Thank you, Rebecca and Dr. Feiten, for coming to join us today.
We're happy to be here. Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you and everyone here at the conference in August.
See you then.